This was the dry season in Wajir County, and farmers are tilting their land in Tarbaj constituency in the hope that rain will fall soon. Most of them were livestock farmers and adopted a pastoral way of life for decades. The region has suffered one of the longest droughts, and they are waiting for the long rains that usually fall during this period of the year. If the rains don't fall, these fields will remain bare until then. Subsequent drought in the county has led to the loss of about 70% of livestock, something that inspired most livestock farmers to adopt a new way of life.
Enough rain has been a problem for close to 4 or 5 years. That has brought about some devastation in terms of vegetation, in terms of water availability for both domestic animals and also for other uses, and in terms of grazing for animals.
We channeled most of our county coffers into addressing and mitigating drought. So the effect has been huge. A good number of our people bore the brunt of the drought. Livestock decimated. A good number of them moved to towns as well. Mushrooming of settlement was one of the effects of the elongated drought as well.
After the drought pillaged the livelihood of pastoralists in the county, most of them were internally displaced, now living in makeshift homes and dependent on food aid. The long rains have now fallen in many parts of the county, and crop fields have impressively accommodated crops. The farmers have been confined to small pieces of land within their neighborhood rather than the nomadic lifestyle that they embraced just like their forefathers did.
For so many years, we moved with our livestock to Ethiopia, Somalia, and even as far as Garissa County, yet we have not benefited anything from them. We have now realized that crop farming could serve us well if we get sufficient water for them.
These people who are involved in crop production have also livestock, but now they have taken diversifying the production. They have the livestock at this side and they have the crop at this side. But now, slowly, people are now shifting from livestock, the traditional livestock keeping, to crop farming.
The county mainly produces livestock products for commercial purposes. Most commodities sold at Wajir Fresh Produce Market are imported from neighboring counties, setting prices of goods higher than normal. Philip Kimani is hopeful that the high cost of living in the county could have been on a downward trajectory if local production could have been embraced.
Vitu zimeenda juu sana kwa sababu cabbage kama hii county ya Meru tunaipata na bei kama ya 70, lakini ikifika hapa mimi kwa mikono yangu inanifikia na 150. Ninategemea niuze na nipate kitu kwa hiyo mboga. Sasa unakuta biashara imeenda chini sababu ya bei ya hiyo vitu.
For many years, small-scale farming has been successfully practiced in parts of the county, although not consistent. Water scarcity has been detrimental to farms that are irrigated on water pumps that do not always hold water during long periods of drought.
These crops have survived as a result of the long rains that fell a few weeks ago in most parts of the county. Over 80% of farms in this region are rain-fed, which begs the question, how viable can these crops be in such a region that is severely affected by erratic rainfall?
Farmers have been encouraged to grow drought-resistant crops to avert the brunt of dry seasons. Even this is not sustainable without sufficient water. In Kutulo ward of Tarbaj constituency, over 200 farms have been grown, mostly containing maize and sorghum. Unfortunately, none of them are under irrigation.
Our crops are not irrigated. We only grow them during the rainy seasons. Our land is dry and we don't have water sources. We only have a few boreholes at the town for livestock, but we don't have some set aside for our crops.
We're going to utilize early growing crops like millet and maize, which are going to take less time, so that the little rain that we get can be utilized in growing food. Two, we also have to come up with a way of saving or harvesting the run of water so that we can use that stored water for quite a while for irrigation.
As a government, we will do what we can within our budget and means to assist our farmers, but move from small-scale farming to large-scale farming. We will provide the inputs necessary. We will provide the machinery necessary for land clearance and plowing. We will give the extension services. We will give fertilizers and pesticides and everything that the county government can give under the circumstances and budget limits.
In some parts of the county, a bumpy harvest of horticultural crops has been experienced, indicating that if crop farming is given the necessary environment to thrive in this region, local production could be a reality.
Even the counties are supposed to align their priorities in that direction. So I hope there's going to be a synergy, there's going to be understanding between both government and also policy government at the national level geared towards this direction will influence even counties to take up farming.
Once they produce, we'll have aggregation centers so that we can aggregate all the produce and yields, but also link them to markets across within the country and probably even outside the country. So we are not just going for subsistence farming, we are going for commercial and cash crop farming as well going forward.
Wajir County sits on a huge landmass that has for years been used by pastoralists to graze their livestock. Although the pastoral way of life has repeatedly failed communities in the region, changing their mindset to adopt an alternative source of livelihood could itself be a challenge.
When one is encouraging, one leader is encouraging, probably another one is ridiculing and telling his people not to do that, or putting some propaganda to the extent that saying that this leader who is encouraging farming wants to restrict the movement of your animals. So if people are pulling, if leaders are pulling in different directions, that will also become a challenge.
After every 3 years, there's a biting drought. Then, like now, 70% of the livestock have been wiped out. Now, if that is not controlled, it will become a phenomenon.
Most pastoralists whose livestock have been decimated by drought over the past few years have turned into the fields to try an alternative source of livelihood. It is the hope of farmers and local leadership for the county to generate its own food and contribute to the food security of the country. But until most farms remain rain-fed in such an unforgiving weather pattern, realizing that dream could be a distant mirage. Isadin Haji, K24, Wajir County.